this is a nice small group, so we get a little bit more intimate here.
Don't talk about that word intimate.
So Radha asked a question about this particular section of the class. And she asked whether or not, because we predominantly, to do the homework assignments, predominantly are still lifes. And that is true, mainly because that's possible. You can't like drag in a tree or anything into your studio and do that. And I do have most of my students, they're not interested in dragging their stuff out. Here we are in San Jose, there's not a lot of really inspirational things to paint here. Although when you really master plein air painting,
Everything is mastered.
everything is good. In fact, one of the homework assignments that I had the students do up in Medford is for them to they had to find something within their block. Within their block. And so one of my students ended up just painting 2 garbage cans.
Oh, that's a very...
But the way that she painted it was so beautiful. I mean, it gave you a whole new perspective on what garbage cans could look like.
I would not think about that.
With plein air painting, you should be able to find anywhere. In fact, if you want to really master plein air painting, just go in your backyard.
Yeah.
Get used to just painting a corner of your yard and practice. That said, through still life painting, you can slowly develop your skills. Now, Don, today we were working on laying in a painting that he had an idea for, and I ran through all of the things that we want in a painting. I said, well, okay, go ahead and lay it in. Now, the skills that you learn for plein air painting, you can get from a still life that's in your studio. So if you're working from your studio, you would want to lay in the painting as fast as you can, especially if you're trying to do alla prima. Then what you want to do is you go to the central focal point and work out. Now the only difference is if you're doing plein air painting, within 7 minutes your light has changed. Now remember, Monet had said that the light changes within 7 minutes. So at that point, after 7 minutes, it's futile to even look at the model anymore. You literally have to remember what it was that inspired you to paint. Because I guarantee you, within an hour, you will be asking yourself, why did I even bother come out here? This is ugly now. So what happens in a plein air painting is that you set up, and you're inspired, and it will go ugly in front of you. So your scene will go ugly. It happens all the time. It'll be beautiful in the morning. As you're painting, it gets uglier and uglier till all the light's gone and it's midday. Or you'll set up, be inspired, and it gets darker and darker until it's midnight. You can't see. Okay, so either your scene will get uglier or it gets darker. So what do? You have to improvise. And you have to be really good at laying in foundation. So today with Don's painting, he gave me a story, and we immediately put in the foundation, where the light is, where the shadows are, the colors, the temperatures, all the things that you want to do in a painting. And then I said, okay, the canvas is covered. He also worked on a larger canvas, and if it were a plein air painting, I wouldn't go larger than 16 by 20. So that pure real estate takes a while to just cover. And then what you do is you start in from the center focal point and you work out. So if you are blessed with having longer time with your light, if you can lay that in the first 7 to 10 minutes, and then start with your center focal point, at least when you leave, you've got that under control. The rest of the painting really doesn't matter. And so Don said, I want to have that feeling in the river really identified as a central focal point, because that's why I want to have people who look at this, who do fly fishing, know where the honey hole is, the sweet spot where the fish are hanging out. And so he wants that feeling of somebody standing there wanting to do this, you know, like they do with fly fishing, to try to find that spot. So in order for him to do that, he has to bring a source of light on it, because that's what people will be attracted to. In that source of light, he has to manipulate whatever subject matter there is in there to give that feeling of that flat river. Lighting is really, really crucial. And then we went in and we started wiping off, getting the feeling of sun rays coming in so that the light felt like it was coming through the forest. His initial picture was done in the afternoon. The photograph was horrible. And it's all flat. Everything is midday. And you know, the best time to go fly fishing is in the evening when things start to get dark in the water. The fish start to bounce when the water's a little cool. The bugs come out more. So that's usually the time of day you want to represent if you're trying to appeal to that group of fly fishermen. If you are a fly fisherman, that's a wonderful group to appeal to. And I'll get back to that in a sec, but I want to finish Radha's question. All those elements about creating the effect of light, how do you handle light? How do you work with light? How do you make light look like light? You learn on still life painting. The concepts, the transitions, all that stuff you work with, because when you set up a still life in your studio, the light does stay. And so you don't have to work under this time rush. You can actually be with your painting for a while, allow the painting to develop, and learn how things are lit. How does reflections work? The reflection on a tin can is the same reflection that you would have on water. The temperatures and the transitions are all the same. So in a still life, you actually get an opportunity to work with something and study how does light actually fall onto things? How does it reflect? So you're developing your eye for that. Also, while you're doing the still life painting, and those people who do the still life paintings become very in tune with the effects of light in a painting. So if you study still life painting for a long time and you look at a landscape painting, you'll see how did the artist create the light. And when we're looking at something like you brought in today, where there is no effects, you can sit and go, oh yeah, Judy did this on one of her paintings. She had a flat picture, but then she brought a stream of light in and lit up something. So everything could be found in still life painting if you practice. Now the issue with what you've done in our class here is that you would take the idea and then take it to the next level, try to become clever in the process and come up with a story or backstory. But there's a lot of value in creating just what's there. Just being curious to sit. And I've shown some of you the photographs of some other artists that are painting very, very realistic stuff like the typewriter and stuff. Nothing items like a stapler, but painted so incredibly well that in itself is just marvelous. I mean, how do you do that? And the only way you could do that is to be with it and not be thinking about another alternative. So to be able to set something up. But the issue is you've got to set this thing up. And I've had students come up with an idea and they go, well, I couldn't get my tools to do it, so I just started making it up. You don't want to do that in this process. When you are working with trying to learn how to light something up, you have to sit, and sometimes for a long time, to get something to look right. Judy was talking today about setting up a still life, and I think your idea is noble. She was going to do a triptych, right, of paintings for her craft. So she's an artist. So she wants to have like this triptych that demonstrates the tools of her trade. And she says, well, how do you do that? How do you set them? And I said, you just kind of put everything on the shelf and just haphazardly. Judy likes to organize things. She's kind of an old tradition still life. So when Judy sets something up, it's the traditional fruit bowl with, beautiful fruits and wonderful things. I mean, just very similar to you'd see in the salon. Nowadays, it's just, styrofoam and plastic and throw everything into a corner and whatever. And that's great too. So I said, just be more casual, set the stuff up, and the only thing you want to move is your light source. That's why it's good to have a good light. And then she says, well, she has her studio so full of things that she can't move the light around. And I said, guess what? I said, it's an opportunity for you to clean your studio. So one thing leads to another. So this week's Judy's goal is to set up her studio so that she can move around in it and create fabulous paintings. Nothing should be in your way. You're too good of an artist. See, when I have a little group like this, I can key into I see you. I see you back there.
She's hiding up there, cannot see her.
So, so I would say that still life painting is the foundation for you to do anything, even like doing portraits, because you have to learn to see the effects of light. How does the light fall? The light falls the same way on a face as it does on a rock. Mountains are the same thing as material. You learn how to do that. Not only that, it's fun. It's fun to be able to create something that's really beautiful, that you didn't have to go and load up your car and schlep all that stuff out on location, deal with bugs and heat. I know. Darla and Levon, they love painting outdoors. They love it so much they don't do it anymore. That's one thing, you know, one thing people don't get is that they want to be a plein air painter, but they hate going outdoors. They hate bugs, they hate the heat, they hate the cold. They hate having to pack things up and unpacking them. They hate to walk. If you hate all these things, maybe plein air painting isn't for you. Maybe you're going to reside yourself to a studio painter. The main key in both plein air painting and studio painting is that you paint from life. That is the most important key. So looking at what Radha is talking about, like, you know, with still life painting in association to landscape painting and plein air painting, is that what they have in common is painting from life. And I had mentioned in one of my other videos that if you're going to go to the plein air convention, you really need to be doing a week's worth of still life painting in your studio to start tuning your eye. And doing your projects from photographs is kind of disingenuous. If you really want to become a good plein air painter, you should always be painting from life. That's always the first go-to thing. Finding, like the last portrait you did was a commission, and working from photographs, especially a photograph that somebody else took, that's kind of so far removed from who you are that if people would come to me and they go, what would it be? What you know, if I wanted to be point me into a direction that would be best, I would say never work from photographs, always work from life. Yeah, and I would be totally open for that. But like last night, one of my students showed up and he said, and he comes from Walnut Creek, so he drives an hour to get over here during traffic at 6 o'clock. And so he comes here, and I said, so what are you going to paint today? And he goes, I don't know. I said, how dare you like come to my class and not have an idea? I mean, you know,
That's
like,
terrible.
It's not terrible, really. I said, you know, the problem is that now you're my victim, my experiment. So I went out to the car, picked up my light, ran it up, just set it right up in front of him, grabbed a hold of a gel jar that had some ick in it, and I put it right in the light, lowered the light so there was a shadow, and I said, there, for the next 3 hours, I want you to paint that. And he sat down to it, kind of reluctantly, because it wasn't pretty. It wasn't something he would normally do. But he showed up to class without being prepared. So at that point, I'm the boss. So I said, here, do that. And I've done that before with students. And afterwards they go, wow, that was really awesome.
I love that too.
And I have students that in my classes bring in their lights and their still life and they just paint. You have 3 hours in my class.
You can do it.
You can plug in and paint an orange, an apple, a grape, a piece of cloth, pearls. You can sit and study. And it's fascinating because when you're looking at air and you're painting a subject in there, it's a whole nother skill set. But isn't it like plein air painting then? To be able to see that three-dimensional object and make it onto a canvas? You know, it's just plein air, it's bigger.
And confusing too. When you're outside.
It can be, but it's only confusing if you sat there and stared at it. You got to turn around and turn your back to it. Because this is kind of a siren, a lost mistress. The subject matter that you found out here kind of disappears. And then what happens is that starts to get so boring, you get bored with your painting. And that's one reason why a lot of plein air paintings fail. at least when you paint in the studio, you can at least capture the light and hold on to it.